After I did my review of the Garrison Brothers Bourbon, I raced out trying to find an amazing Texas whiskey that wasn't half as expensive as the Garrison Brothers, because that's just way too much. And then I landed on this Balcones Texas Pot Still Bourbon. It's been sitting on my shelf since. It's been a while since I've gotten at this, so today we're gonna get right back at her and do a review of Texas Balcones Pot Still Bourbon. Welcome back to Tipsy Whiskey Shenanigans. I'm Steven, and as always, if you have not yet done this already, please do me a favor, get down there, hit that like button, and subscribe. I appreciate it. It helps us out a ton, and it helps us bring you guys better content. But we're here today, tonight, whenever the heck you're watching this, tomorrow, whenever you watch it, we're here to review Balcones Texas Pot Still Bourbon. So, this is, obviously, it's a bourbon from Texas. It is from Balcones, which is, it's one of the bigger, more prominent distilleries in Texas. I've heard a lot of good things about them. Some of their products I love, some of them I don't love. I have mixed feelings about them. This bourbon consists of actually a 4-grain mash bill. Over 41% of it is the roasted blue corn. Unknown percentages for the rest, but that's going to be Texas wheat, Texas rye, as well as some malted barley. So this is a very different mash bill than you'll typically see. It's aged around 24 months, which is young. That's 2 years, so pretty young. 46% ABV, which, you know, also not the floor, but it's not super high proofed. And it's roughly around $30-ish, which, again, pretty decent price point to be getting into some cheaper products. So let's go ahead and get into this nose, and I'll let you know what I think about it. So right off there on the rip, I'm getting a lot of like sweetness with a lot of like some like roasted corn. Honestly, it's very grainy in the corn sense. Little bit of like a grassy hay note. Some like caramelized oak, brown sugar. A little bit of like a baking spice, kind of like an herbal clove in there. And smells kind of like maple syrup, like toasty, bready maple syrup. Getting some cocoa in there, but I would say overall it's very corn forward. Getting a lot of like maple syrup, a nice like caramelized oak in there, as well as some like spicy like herbal, maybe a little bit of clove in there. Very spicy, yet also sweet in a weird way. Let's go ahead and get on the palate though. So on the palate there, I'm getting a lot of sweetness, a nice like caramelized apple, a little bit of like, I would say like a pecan pie nuttiness, so like a caramelized brown sugar pecan. It's like buttery as well, kind of like, I would say like buttery popcorn, still kind of corny. It has a very corn forward palate still. You can kind of see that about like halfway through. It goes from being like this caramelized apple, pecan pie, brown sugar sweetness to that corn starts kind of coming out a little bit more and turns into like this like buttery toasted popcorn note that kind of finishes out into like this oaky leatheriness. Very interesting. You typically don't see this complexity at 46% ABV, so that is really exciting. Let's go ahead and go in one more pour. Yeah, again, I'm getting a lot of like sweet brown sugar, caramel apples, a little like tannicky, oaky, like the first second you sip it, it gets kind of oaky, goes into that caramel apple, that brown sugar pecan pie aspect, then envelops into that buttery popcorn, like you're at the movies getting like some caramel corn basically. And then it like fades into a nice like oaky brown sugar leather note. The finish does become very leathery though, like leathery and tannic. as it progresses. It's pretty good for the first like half of it, and then it just becomes this overwhelming leathery aspect. Very, very interesting. Very Texas. I don't hate it. I don't love it. I think it's very, very interesting. If you're someone who's looking to get into kind of like a Texas whiskey, I would definitely suggest check this one out. Seeing as how it's $30, because most Texas whiskey's insanely expensive too. So I think that's fantastic. That's exactly why I picked it up. But doing this review, it kind of reminds me why it sat on the shelf for a while, and honestly, not really my jam. It's complex and interesting, but I don't know if it's complex in a way I actually appreciate. So the grade I'm gonna have to give it is, I'm just gonna give it a C. And that's based off of my palate. It's complex, it's interesting, but the way it envelops and it flows, I'm not the biggest fan of it. Again, complex, and do I want to drink it? Like, I think it's complex, it's fun to tear apart, but I don't necessarily know if this is something I would enjoy drinking. It just becomes very like buttery popcorn leather, which that's not really something I enjoy drinking, and it's turning me off on this one. So I think a C is a fair fitting grade for me, just because I don't really enjoy the way it drinks and the way it envelops on the palate and then to the finish. It's too funky for me. There's a difference between complexity and wanting to actually drink it. It's fun to sit here, tear apart, but I don't know if it's something I'm going to continue to drink moving forward. It's probably going to continue sitting on my shelf, if we're being completely honest. But that's going to be a wrap for this video. If you're into Texas whiskey, because this has an insane Texas funk, check out Balcones Pot Still Bourbon. I think it's solid for Texas whiskey, because Garrison Brothers did have a Texas funk too. It just wasn't as jarring for me and wasn't as leathery, so I think that's why I kind of liked it a little bit more. But if you're also someone who wants to check out Texas whiskey, this is a pretty easy jump in go-to for that, because it's only $30. So worst comes to worst, if you don't like it, you can always just give it to a friend. Also, do us a favor on this video, get down in those comments, let us know what you guys thought about this video, and let us know what you guys think about this bottle. And if you haven't done so already, smash that like button and subscribe. It helps us out a ton so we can keep bringing you better content in the future. Also, Instagram, Facebook, Patreon, link is in the description if you're wondering what that is. We appreciate all the support, but that's a wrap here. Cheers, y'all. We'll see you later.